All right, the smack talking still continues, but it is just one of those things where, you just have to look at it, you just have to laugh because a lot of these so called smack talkers were the ones who were the first to say, this game is done, everybody has moved on, why don't you move on? Or they basically said the game is dead, even the developers have abandoned their own game and blah, blah, blah. But now they've moved the goalpost, aka this is just a rehash of assets or a respec of already existing content, so it's really no big deal. Well, at the end of the day, that's everybody's own subjective opinion because all of what you're seeing is basically icing on the cake. That's pretty much what this is. So imagine you bought a cake and then they gave you the cake that was promised to you, including the icing that was promised to you after they had promised you the cake, which is basically the game Gotham Knights, the cake, the Heroic Assault being the icing, and then Heroic Assault 2 being the icing on top of the icing, which you didn't necessarily pay for, which was just a bonus. So I think that's probably the conversation that we're having here because a lot of times we can conflate a few things, especially in this entire conversation. Now I can understand that actually in regard to how the fans or people who are actually playing this game feel, many would like to see a story DLC surrounding Gotham Knights. Now, as much as I would love to see that, I have to say that there is kind of a concession I would also like to make. So don't get me wrong. I would like to see maybe a prequel or a story, preview before all of these events went down, where we can use Batman as a character that's playable. Now, how would Batman play in a game like this? I think that's going to be very interesting because the developers have a lot of free reign to go however they want. But again, this is not really a Batman game. This game is supposed to represent the Bat family members in a different universe and so on and so forth. So I guess they want to maintain the identity of their game, so we may or may not see this. Instead, I think where there will be a nice way to actually go and complement things is to actually see playable characters that we didn't necessarily get to see because their game files were actually available. They were, mined, and we got to see that Harvey Dent and even Catwoman had some concept art. And I think these are things that will probably make for a really solid complement where they bring a new villain and then they bring a new playable character to kind of make things very interesting. Now, I think the reason that, Catwoman, Selena Kyle, I forgot her first name, is going to be a very good complement is because she's a weapon character. So when you think about that perspective, you can say, okay, Batman is not necessarily too much of a, I don't know how you want to put it, but he's not a weapon character. I'm going to go ahead and just say it. He's a, hand-to-hand combat brawler by, all depictions that you can think about. But if you think about Catwoman, she is a weapon character using those, the whips to be able to get stuff done. So I think she might be able to fit into a game like this, a game with this particular description. I think she fits in, or she could fit in. So that's one direction and one angle that the developers can actually go into or go in with. And so when you kind of think about this, there's room for these kinds of little tit for tat and little play that they can kind of continue to build upon in order for them to achieve what it is that they want, which is to continue to develop a core fan base that they can continue to make video games for. It's a very important thing that you guys, in our community that are playing the game need to realize and understand that we are the core community. And when Warner Brothers Games Montreal builds their next game, the foundation is going to be on the things that we like about Gotham Knights, and then possibly improvements or maybe some other things that have a broader market appeal. Because again, Gotham Knights is an RPG. These are, these are genres of games or subgenres of games that have not necessarily been tested out there and gelled, to see how it comes up with. And when Gotham Knights tested it out, didn't necessarily get the best of reception, even though later on people started to and began to warm up to it. This has been pretty much the pattern of the game. So now that there is a core audience, a lot of people who've actually gotten their hands on the game, played it, made very educated decisions rather than just listen to what people on the internet tell them. I think we get to provide that feedback, and we get to provide pretty much the base of what the next game is going to look like. I would also love to see characters that are mentioned within this universe in one way represented or the other, like say, what's her name, Black Canary, and so on and so forth, and some of the other characters even show up as the game is going on. So this could even open up the doors to continue the conversation. We also could start seeing, maybe more and more things going if the developers decide to continue to improve upon the universe with some of those characters that we got to see in emails and, hear their voicemails, like, the little Kent and so on and so forth. And so I think there's just a lot of cool stuff to go here. Now, the second side, though, is what if they could just continue doing things like Heroic Assault, giving us new gear levels, why they spend and invest more time in actually building their next game to be bigger than what Gotham Knights was able to achieve? Because you can tell that Gotham Knights, could have been a live service game. I would have liked for it to be a live service game. That way we just know that we're in this whole thing to continue to rinse and repeat content, and with fair monetization policies that is, because you could have some live service games that don't necessarily get the job done or don't necessarily represent exactly what it is you want to see in a video game. Some people are averse to live service games, but that's probably what, would have probably made the middle ground for the way the game feels and for the way Heroic Assault, pretty much is a thing. Or maybe they could tag a mode that feels like Heroic Assault, that's a live service mode outside of the single player loop. That would also be a very good middle ground so that a single player experience is there and anybody who wants to continue to, enjoy the game can actually do something like that. But I'd love to also see them spend time that's necessary or needed to go ahead and work on their next, title, because that's something that is, in my opinion, quite necessarily, right, quite necessarily important at this moment in time. Think about it. With Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League getting this huge delay, they're the ones that are going to have to step up with whatever project it is that they have and show it to their fans. And so I think they need as much time as they possibly can get to go ahead and get the job done. But these are my thoughts and, and pretty much some of my own perceptions anyways regarding everything that's going on, because, you got to have to think about it. A lot of people did want to make it seem like this game was already given up on. That was just more artificial, rage or artificial mockery than anything else. Anybody who's paying very close attention will see that the conversation is actually much more nuanced than everybody wants to give credit for. But these are my thoughts nonetheless. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what it is you think in regard to how this content dropped, what kind of content depth you would love to see in the future, or maybe you think they need to just continue with this pattern and then continue to punch hard on their new game so that that new game is going to be an improvement on anything and everything that Gotham Knights needed to work on overall from a mechanics, perspective, and just, overall to kind of get a smooth experience for their second game. I still do commend the Gotham Knights as a first attempt at their own independent game, though. To me, it's a very solid entry. Regardless of what anybody says, who gives a hoot? Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.